can grow to be a millionaire in all 6 aspects of health. That's right. Every Wednesday, we share tips to improve your physical, intellectual, social, spiritual, obviously your financial, and your mental health. Today's episode focuses on how to improve your mental health regarding relationships. Whoo, that's going to be a fun topic. If you've never seen Millionaires Are Made, this is a show built on the fundamental beliefs that every interaction you have or every person you meet knows something you don't, and there's something to be learned from everyone in this big, beautiful world. Here at Millionaires Are Made, we are on a mission to teach the world how to grow into the healthiest, happiest millionaires in all 6 aspects of health. So we went out and got 3 awesome guests to give you 3 awesome tips on how to improve your mental health with relationships. Audience, this is an interactive show. We definitely highly encourage you to ask questions and comment. We will ask them live on air so you can get your answers immediately. And real quick, I'm going to give a shout out to some of our followers. Thank you so much. On Facebook, Celestine Moore. Instagram, Kia Muse. TikTok, Angela Fiada. And YouTube, Emboldened Ventures. Thank you all so much for following. Massive props. If you want to get shouted out, just follow us. Guests, if you want to be a guest on our show, it's really easy. We're dropping the link right now. We are always looking for new guests, and we believe you have something to share with the world. So please, please, please sign up. We also love topic ideas. If you have a topic that you're struggling with, maybe you need a little help, and we need to go find 3 guests for you to give you 3 awesome tips to get through that hump in life. Before we bring on our first guest, the show is brought to you by Sarah Jones, who was buried in debt in a failing marriage. But Sarah got rid of her giant debt-free financial coach and went back to the basics. Now she has her own certifications, and her husband travel the U.S. in a giant 80-foot RV and to guide couples, individuals, and small businesses to build healthy money habits. Go check her out and say hi. Our next sponsor is Biz by Right, the matchmaking service for people who love buying and selling businesses. We find cash flowing deals, vet them with AI wizardry, and connect buyers and sellers faster than you can say due diligence. Check their link out right now. Our next sponsor is Brian Parana. Brian is a husband, a father of 4. That's a job in itself. And founder of The Call to Rise, helping busy men reclaim their health, energy, and confidence through simple, sustainable systems that fit real life. And our final sponsor for this episode is Brian Wright. If you want to get your brand in front of high-level entrepreneurs and personal growth leaders, reach out to Brian at the Ultimate Achievers magazine, where industry icons meet a content-first audience. Brian's amazing in publishing. He will help you with your book if you haven't published a book yet, and anything else you're trying to get. And without further ado, we're going to bring out our first guest here. Our first guest is Kelly. Kelly, tell us,
hello.
Who are you?
Hi, I'm Kelly Parker, and I am a new business entrepreneur who wants to help women overcome what has held them back for many years in different endeavors of trying to get a business growing and off the ground, and mainly the people who've tried the direct sales route. So that I want to help them create a business that comes from what their passion is, that they can truly own to deliver the message they were meant to have.
Ooh, I like that. I like that. Well, I've got I guess starting a new business, you do have relationships. Let's see where you go with this. If I wanted to improve my mental health with relationships, what tiny piece of advice would you give me?
I have had a lot of revelations in the last few months, and I have even reframed my entire program around our belief system and our limiting beliefs that we have gotten back from childhood. We all know that they started around age 7 and younger. And it has dawned on me that this is the issue that a lot of people have in building a business, keeping them from moving forward. They get stuck. But I also think that it also goes into every aspect of our life, including our relationships, because if we don't know understand why we are the way we are and why we think the way we think, we cannot really understand who we are. Therefore, we are not really our authentic self. We can't tell a story to be with conviction and to understand that our story has a lot of value for other people. And it will have you connect on a much deeper, beneficial, encouraging level if we are at a good place within us. So I think if we want to look at relationships with anybody, I mean, even if it's a stranger type connection or our family, it starts with us. And we can't look at the person that we're talking about. We can't look at the other side of the relationship. I think we have to start with us. We have to look very deep and figure out what we all have a lens. We all have a perception, our glasses, you know, we all have our own glasses. And so we see things through our lens, through our experiences. And we have to understand where that lens comes from before we can truly see and understand the relationship itself.
I love it. That's very true. Perception's huge, and everyone is going to be so different, especially in relationships. So, awesome tip. Kelly, where on your life journey did you learn this advice?
That's the funny thing, because I just, like in the last few months, I have had a huge awakening. My eyes have been opened to something very powerful that has got me on fire to help people. So I have actually crafted my program to include my new method of digging deep and finding these beliefs, find out where they came from. And then we need to take what we believe, which is not necessarily the truth. It could be an opinion. It could be an idea. And then we have to root it back into some truth. Whatever you're telling yourself, I guarantee you it's a lie, because I promise you I could give you evidence once I get to know you, show you where it's a lie, and to counteract what you're thinking and show you that that is not true. So now believe the truth.
I love it. Kelly, all right, we're going to bring you back out in the round robin. Right now, we're going to move on to our next guest, who is Laura. Thank you so much, Kelly. Next,
Hello.
we have Laura. Laura, who are you?
Morning. I am, first of all, very grateful to be here. Thank you for having us. I am a registered holistic therapist and a soul alignment coach. Basically, what I love doing is helping people to connect with the deepest truth of who they are, discover their purpose, get to know why they are here on the planet. And what has happened over time is I've actually started working with couples as well, who want to connect with each other on a deeper level, and on all levels of their being.
Fantastic. Well, this question is for you. If I wanted to improve my mental health with relationships, what simple piece of advice would you give me?
So I love to use the analogy of a formula, that A plus B equals C. And in every relationship, member is part of that formula. And so if the formula result is not working for you, it's to know that changing A, which is you, will have an impact on the result that you get. So start with that. So I agree with Kelly. We have to look at ourselves and what is my contribution to the end result? What is my role and how am I showing up in this? And very often I love to use Mahatma Gandhi's quote of be the change you wish to see in the world. And I use that in terms of relationships. So be the change you wish to see in your relationship. Because if I'm wanting more kindness from my partner, very often we forget that we need to do the same too. Or if I'm wanting more romance, to say, hey, am I being romantic? Am I bringing the effort in that I'm asking of my partner? So for me, I think it's recognizing the power that you have through taking responsibility in how you show up.
Recognizing the power through responsibility. Huh. All right. Opening eyes over here. All right. Laura, where on your life journey did you learn this advice?
I would say it's been a process of my marriage, which we've been married now for 17 years and together almost 20. But also, I think,
Congrats on that.
Thank you, gold medal. But I think, really, in my early 20s, I read the book Loving What Is by Byron Katie. And I strongly recommend that book for anybody who wants to actually learn the art of questioning your beliefs and your thinking. It's a
Can you repeat the name of that book?
Loving What Is by Byron Katie. Fantastic book.
All right.
She's got a process, and I think that's where it started for me, is just learning to question my beliefs and my thought processes. And I started doing that, of course, in my relationships, and noticed how much of that was playing a significant role in how I showed up.
Fascinating. It's a lot of responsibility. All right. Well, Laura, thank you so much. We're going to move on to our next guest, Silke. Silke, tell us, who are you?
I'm Silke Harvey, and I'm the founder of Female Leaders Rising, which is a global movement for wealthy women who are passing on their wealth to other women through fair employment and training, collaboration, and thus actually creating more wealth for all, because I do believe where women lead, prosperity grows. And apart from this movement, I'm also a life transition coach, a musician, and an energy healer.
Do a little bit of everything there. All right.
A little bit of everything. Exactly.
Silke, if I wanted to improve my mental health regarding relationships, what tiny piece of advice would you give me?
I've got a piece of advice here for when your relationship is not going so well, when it's on the rocks, or maybe even if it's broken down. We often find ourselves in a state of freeze, literally waking up in the morning, not being able to function, thinking that we can do some work in the day, and then by breakfast, we're already too tired to actually even do anything except sit on the sofa, watch Netflix. And that's our body, our nervous system protecting ourselves from the situation we're in. But my advice is that if you want to salvage the relationship or get over the relationship quicker, you have to start moving. And that's a very important part. You have to try to get moving again as quickly as possible. And I know at the time it's extremely difficult and easier said than done. But I always have a tip for my clients that in order to get moving, start with the tiniest steps. Start with something as ridiculous as making a real brewed coffee instead of just throwing the instant coffee in the cup. Something as little as that, and start including more and more of these actions in your day that force you to start moving again. Because when you are actually in a state of freeze, everything actually dies inside of you. Your own mental health suffers. The relationship suffers to a point where it's maybe not even recoverable anymore. So it's in your own interest and in the interest of trying to keep your partner to get out of this freeze situation as quickly as possible, and push yourself every day to do something that feels slightly uncomfortable, because this momentum to get back going and to try to salvage the situation lies actually outside your comfort zone. So do something, a new hobby, or join a local club, or join a social media group where you feel maybe slightly uncomfortable or out of place, but go there anyway. Ensure that you actually enjoy what you're doing and push yourself a little bit every day. And before you actually know it, you will suddenly start getting into your rhythm again. Because it happens very often that through this freeze response that a relationship completely breaks down because we're no longer talking to our partner, we're no longer actually interacting. And even when a relationship has broken down, we are no longer interacting with ourselves and our environment. So therefore, our mental health suffers. So my advice to people is to get moving, because we don't need to heal before we move, but we heal because we move.
We heal because we move. Man, that's great advice. Where in your life journey did you learn this advice, Silke?
I learned this the hard way myself after my marriage of 31 years broke down. And I found myself in exactly this situation. And I basically went through all the stages of the freeze response, the stages of the grief and the mental health issues. And with the help of a grief counselor, she got me thinking in terms of having to move again. And that's how that's how I managed to then formulate it into advice for my clients. Because I went through these stages and I experienced the benefits of it.
Wow, wonderful story. Silke, we're going to move on to our round robin. You ready to bring the next two guests out? We'll bring out Kelly and Lara. Audience, this is a great time for you to ask questions. First things first. Kelly, can you refresh what your tip was for us?
A lot of us seem to have a lot in common when we really listen to each other, that we need to focus on our role. We need to look at ourselves whenever we want to make anything else better, any situation, any relationship. We need to look at ourselves. And I think that that's where we want to focus the work, and then keep the focus of service to the people around us. So work on us. We don't want to think that they need the work or put the blame on anything else, because like I said, our perception of things is our personal, like DNA perception, and it's going to be different from everybody else. They may not see the same things we see or think the same thing we think when we hear something. Everything could be misunderstood so easily, and we jump to conclusions, but a lot of it is because of our belief system and how we think about ourselves and how we see other people. And that is the root, I think, of being healthy in every aspect of our lives, is to just be better and do what it takes to get better. And like Silke said too, to keep moving though. That's where the healing comes. That's where the revelation comes, is whenever you keep working and keep focusing on being better, and it will pay off in every area of your life.
Isn't it easier just to swipe left and move on to the next person?
Well, sometimes. I think that it depends on the person. And if somebody is toxic and just not willing to do their part and just refuse to, and they just reveal who they really are, then yeah, swipe them away. But if it's somebody you care about that you just can't connect again, or you've lost that connection, say a husband or a child or a friend, if they're worth it to you, then it's worth it to do the work. And even if it doesn't result in the greater outcome of fixing or repairing or making a relationship better, you've gotten better anyway. You've done the work and you're a better person. So you've not lost in the realm of everything. And maybe in your growth, it helps you to make peace with that and to just understand that it wasn't really me, and I've done what I need to do. And it makes you stronger and more solid in your own convictions and your values.
Laura, what are your thoughts on Kelly's tip?
Yeah, absolutely agree with what she's saying, that, you know, the power comes from recognizing we can do something about this. And I think with that awareness, we start to notice patterns in our relationships that, oh, this is the way I respond when I feel judged, or this is the way I respond when I feel rejected. And very often when we are recognizing those patterns in ourselves, we're suddenly able to see the common thread and the differences we make by taking ownership of our stuff will influence in a positive way all our relationships. And this is what I find with a lot of intimate relationships, is we tend to want to say it's my partner. But when we see what we're doing, what we could be shifting in ourselves, we suddenly feel empowered to go, okay, there's something I can do about this. And like you said, Kelly, I think just feeling that regardless of how my partner responds, when I'm behaving in a way that aligns with my values, that feels good, I get to be proud of me regardless of that. And yes, there are going to be people where we realize, you know, on a value level or personality level, it isn't a good fit. But I say that most often we're too quick to walk away before we've really taken stock of ourselves. So I think that's important to do. Otherwise, you run the risk of never settling down, because you're going to take you with you into every relationship you enter into.
I heard this really cool thing one time, and I've never forgotten it. We are too prone to carry around a magnifying glass, magnifying the faults of others. We're, you know, and blowing them up until but instead put that down and grab a mirror. And when we focus in that tool, that's where we need to focus. And then when we look at that person, we will learn to focus on their good and not just their flaws, because we're really doing some introspective work. So we need to just look in the mirror.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Silke, what are your thoughts? Oh, sorry. Silke, what are your thoughts on Kelly's tip?
I agree also with that. A lot of it is our own inner game rather than externalizing any issues in a relationship. Because as it's already been said, it's very easy to blame everything that happens in a relationship on the partner and to immediately say, oh, you know, he did this, he did that. And because of that, I feel this way, or this has happened to me. But at the end of the day, we all have to take responsibility for our own feelings and for the way we react to things. Because there is always this one thing I try to remember, that if somebody does something not very nice to you, you cannot actually influence that, what other people do, but you can influence your own response to it. So you can either lash out in anger and make the situation 10 times worse, or you can take a step back and think about how you want to react and remind yourself that a lot of the times if somebody is being negative towards you, they're actually not lashing out at you, they're lashing out at themselves because they're reflecting their own insecurities onto you. So we have got that power within us to choose how we want to react to anything that happens to us. So in that way, we are no longer a victim of the circumstances, but we actually become the master of our own destiny, because we can control what we want to do in life. If we want to sort out the situation, if we feel that it's still worth salvaging, then we can do that, or we can just simply step away as well. Because I agree with Kelly, sometimes that's the only way. If it's too toxic, cut the cords.
All right, we've talked a lot about working on yourself. Wouldn't it be easier just to not even have relationships and just work on yourself and become the best you can without the work of a relationship?
Oh, I you know what, with relationships, my true belief is that it's through these relationships that we actually get to fine-tune ourselves, and that it is through the challenges that are presented in those relationships that we get to evolve and become a better version of ourselves. Being a spiritual person, I really believe that it's actually one of the reasons we're here, that the work we're meant to be doing on this earth is to evolve into understanding what love truly is. And that's why our biological need to belong is so strong, because it is, I believe, the wiring that gets us to want to belong, that pushes us to do the work when it's uncomfortable, rather than just being on our own.
I also think that if you are going to isolate yourself and just put walls up around you, that it will inhibit you from even experiencing anything outside of yourself. Yes. You're not going to be able to see different aspects of people, different beliefs and ideals. It's going to keep you with blinders on. And I don't think that we live in a world that we can do that. And I also do think that you were mentioning earlier about recognizing that we have that power. And that's why I am so fired up about finding out what is holding you back, the belief system, because if you can't recognize it, you can't change it. We've all heard about limiting beliefs for so long, everybody's got them. And I'm thinking, okay, I don't like this. Yeah, I don't have much confidence, or so the things but once you have to really see where they're coming from and what they looked like then, and you'll see the pattern, and then you're able to be aware. So recognize, and we have to be aware when it pops up, the rearing of the ugly head, I call it, pops up in your life. And so you can just shut it down. You just catch that thought and get rid of it and replace it with some truth. And I believe, that in my personal relationship with God, He is truth. So I focus on His truth, and that we are to be the light in the world, and we can't if we put a cover over our light and isolate ourselves. And I think that would be a total disservice of that, because we all have value for everybody around us.
Absolutely. One of the things that I was thinking as you were talking now is that Joe Dispenza often mentions there's 95% of our thinking and our beliefs they're unconscious. Mm-hmm. And so the beauty, the gift in these relationship struggles is that we access a lot of that unconscious belief system that has been having an effect on us without us knowing. Like you were saying, mm-hmm. we lack the awareness. So what I've found is that when we realize that within every struggle in a relationship lies the opportunity to grow in your awareness, then we don't resent or resist the lesson or the struggle. We see it, oh, thank goodness, I get to uncover and reveal this element of me that I need to work on, which I think is freeing.
Yeah, we just can't grow and without some struggle and obstacles and pressures. That is where the growth comes from. And if we try to avoid it, we won't grow. We think we might be growing, but we really won't. It'll all be here telling us that we are.
So we got to go through a bunch of crappy relationships to grow into who we're supposed to be. Is that what I'm hearing?
They're not crappy.
Not many relationships necessarily, but challenges within a relationship, right? And I think
I'll be married 35 years this December. 35 years this December, and it's tough sometimes. Yes, it is. But it's worth it, because when you go through stuff together, you get closer, you bond more. And if everything's all hunky-dory all the time, you just can't appreciate the good without the bad. And we've heard that a lot. You can't have one without the other, because you don't have anything to compare it to. So you can't just throw out relationships and think you're going to have a great life. It doesn't work that way.
No. And I don't know if you would agree with me, Silke and Kelly. in the work that I do, I often see, that we do want to blame our partners or the other person in, whichever relationship we're talking about. But what we don't realize in blaming them is that we're not owning the very thing that could set us free. And I see with spiritual people, or people who doing work, a lot of people will say, oh, they're toxic or they're the problem. And they will label them as a this or a that. There are lots of names and labels. But they're missing the opportunity to first question, is there something I'm not seeing? Is there something I'm not seeing about me? What is my blind spot? What is my shadow work that I need to do here? And I think that it's not always going to be all us, but I do believe that we're always a part of the formula in some way.
And the words we use and the tone we use,
Yeah.
we usually come at somebody as an attack, like you did this. And I learned something years ago where you go to that person. I hate confrontation, so this has always been hard for me. But to go to that person and to just say, can I talk to you? You said this yesterday, and this is how I heard it. Can you clarify that for me on what you meant by that? And just ask. Yes. Instead of saying and ignoring them, or you said this, I have nothing to do with you. You're, So there are civil ways and accusatory ways to speak to people.
Absolutely. It either builds a bridge or it breaks it down, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we are at the point in our show where we have to come up with our daily challenge. This is a task that takes less than 5 minutes per day, costs $0, and is available to everyone in the world. What ideas do you guys have?
I would say first is to pause. If you ever feel like you're triggered and you feel that little feeling like you're offended, because everybody's offended anymore about everything. So I'm sure you're one of them. I like to call mine conviction most of the time. So it makes me think of it differently, that I'm convicted from a higher thing rather than offended. So if I'm really just mad, it's an offense. And then I have to think, okay, step back. But to pause when you feel triggered, just don't say anything, pause and really question what they said. If you really believe they meant to hurt you, or they really have that in them to be so blatantly, rude or mean or whatever. So just ask yourself first. And then if you have doubt, that will help you get more clear on how to address it. And then do everything in love. And especially if it's somebody that you love or have loved or care about, to be gentle about it. You will get a much better response handling it that way than coming at somebody as accusatory. They're going to get defensive. They're going to not want to take blame either. You're blaming them and they're not going to take the blame. So it goes nowhere. So that would be my challenge, is to just, if you get triggered, just pause and really ask yourself a lot of questions about it and be truthful with yourself. And it might make you wait a little bit. I usually need to wait a little bit until the initial adrenaline of it is over, so I can think clearly. And then ask yourself, and then handle it with love. And I promise you that the outcome will be much better.
Okay, so if you don't have conflict for a day in a day, we need some things to do in our daily challenge just regarding relationships to improve our mental health. Any other ideas out there?
Yeah, one of the things that I love to do with couples who are wanting to improve things is I say, begin your day by setting a clear, measurable intention of who you want to be in that relationship for today. So if today I want to be patient, then within that relationship, I'm going to try and embody patience as much as I can. So it's just picking one thing so that it's not overwhelming and you're not like looking at all the things that are wrong, just picking one thing that represents how you want to show up, the kind of partner you want to be for today. And then you do that every day.
Yeah, so Kelly said, take a pause, and now you mentioned patience. So I'm thinking that a good daily challenge is maybe throughout the day, you may not be in conflict, it may not be with another person, but as often as possible, we could say 5 times in a day, you stop, pause, and just count to 10 no matter what you're doing.
Yeah, if you're triggered. I think if you're triggered, that's absolutely right. And I think for me, it's starting the day with the intention so that you're getting your mindset focused on who you want to be rather than just how the other person is showing up.
I also would suggest, listen, this is a great challenge for somebody to every day do something of service or an act of love for that person. Every day, decide what it is, whether it be telling them how much you appreciate them, or putting a note somewhere that they find, or something you don't normally do. Buy them something. Yeah, buy them something, whatever. But do something every day, regardless whether you're mad at them or what. But that way you are thinking about them, because we are working on us, but we got to remember we can't ignore them, and we want them to feel good about themselves. And when we are doing these acts of service, we become better. It gives us a blessing as well. And we want to do more. It makes you want to do more when you do the good things. So it's going to be a ripple effect. And it could also come right back to you.
All right. So you gave some ideas, buy something, do something, write a letter. Let's try to make it specific and easy. I like the idea of writing 5 things you like about someone and handing to them in a note. How do you guys feel about that?
I like that.
Right.
Or hand them one thing a day for 5 days. Give them one every day for 5 days with something different each day. So that way they get it every day, because it needs to be every day. We need to do this. It's a practice to show them. Just don't say it, just show them and just say what you love. Yeah,
what I love about it is you're kind of integrating what Silke was saying earlier about taking action and making a move in the direction of who you want to be.
And it will move you too in the right direction.
Yes.
And you can't go Kelly, but we're going to
leave little notes on the refrigerator.
Yeah.
So for those that aren't in a relationship, you can either pick someone or do someone new every day and do 5 things. However you so choose it, as long as a relationship in your life is improving that day.
What about all the times somebody comes into your mind and you don't reach out? This is your chance. Do it.
This is your chance. I like that. Reach out to the first person that comes to your mind right now.
Yep. Go reach out to them. See how they're doing. Just show you care. Yeah. Because
awesome,
you do. Guys, they don't know it. Yeah.
Right. We have come and accomplished what we need to do. Thank you all so much. We got an awesome daily challenge. I'm going to put you all backstage and wrap up the show. Thank you, Kelly, Laura, and Silke. And obviously, thank all of you so much for following and watching. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed another episode of Millionaires Are Made. Today, we focus on mental health and relationships. Our daily challenge is to practice some patience. And maybe in your relationship, if you do have some sort of conflict. If not, just stop and pause at least 5 times a day throughout your day. Count to 10, relax, and practice patience in your relationship. We also will be writing down 5 things you like about someone on paper and giving it to them every day. It can be the same person. If it's your partner and you want to focus on that relationship, fantastic. Or it can be someone new every day, however you so decide.